The shuttle landed softly on the metal floor of Varus 7's station. The doors opened with a quiet hiss, and Kang Do-hyun stepped out into the cold air. He was a simple-looking man. Not too tall, not too strong. His black hair was neat, and his dark eyes were calm. He wore a plain gray suit that showed no rank or power. Around his neck hung the small golden badge of Earth's diplomatic service. Do-hyun took a deep breath and looked around. The docking bay was huge. Ships from 100 different worlds sat in rows. Creatures of all shapes and sizes walked past him. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had no faces at all. This was the heart of the galaxy. This was where all species came to talk, to trade, and to make peace. Or so they said. Do-hyun knew better. He had read the reports. He had studied the files. The Galactic Council was not a place of peace. It was a place of games. Political games. Power games. Dangerous games. And humanity was still new to these games. Earth had only made contact with alien life 30 years ago. In that short time, humans had proven themselves to be fast learners. They built ships. They made trades. They formed alliances. But many species still looked at humans as children. Weak, soft, easy to control. Do-hyun smiled a little at that thought. Let them think that. Let them believe what they wanted. A tall figure approached him. It was a Veth. The Veth were a reptilian species with gray scales and yellow eyes. They stood almost 7 feet tall and had claws instead of fingers. They were known throughout the galaxy as warriors. Proud, strong, cruel. This particular Veth wore the robes of a council representative. His name was Tomal, and he was the leader of the Veth Dominion's political division. He looked down at Do-hyun with barely hidden disgust. "You are the human diplomat?" Tomal asked. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. Do-hyun bowed his head politely. "I am Kang Do-hyun, representing Earth and its colonies. Thank you for meeting me." Representative Tomal. Tomal did not bow back. He simply stared at the human with cold eyes. "Follow me. The council chambers are this way." They walked through the station's long corridors. Do-hyun kept his pace slow and steady. He noticed everything. The guards standing at every corner. The cameras watching from above. The locked doors and narrow passages. He counted steps. He measured distances. He noted escape routes. Old habits never died. "This is your first time at the council, yes?" Tomal asked, without looking back. "It is," Do-hyun replied. "Then let me give you some advice, human." Tomal stopped and turned to face him. "Know your place. Your species is young. You have no power here. No friends. No protection. The council does not care about Earth. We have watched 1,000 species rise and fall. Yours will be no different." Do-hyun looked up at the towering alien. His face showed nothing. No fear. No anger. Just calm patience. "I appreciate the advice," he said softly. "But I did not come here to make enemies. Representative. I came to talk. To listen. To find common ground." Tomal laughed. It was an ugly sound. Common ground? There is no common ground between predators and prey. Human. And your people are most certainly prey. He turned and continued walking. Do-hyun followed. They reached the council chambers after another 10 minutes of walking. The room was massive. A huge circular space, with seats arranged in rising levels like a stadium. Representatives from hundreds of species sat in their designated areas. Some were alone. Some were surrounded by guards and advisors. Do-hyun was led to a small section near the bottom. The human section. It had only 3 seats. He was the only one there. "You will wait here," Tomal said. "The session begins in 1 hour. Do not wander. Do not speak to anyone. Do not cause problems." "Understood," Do-hyun said. He sat down in his seat and folded his hands on his lap. Tomal stared at him for a long moment. Then he walked away to join his own delegation on the upper levels. Do-hyun sat quietly and waited. He watched the other representatives. He listened to their conversations. Most of them ignored him completely. A few glanced his way with curiosity or contempt. None of them saw him as a threat. Good. His communicator buzzed softly. He pulled it out and looked at the message. It was from his wife, Yuna. Back on Earth. Be safe, the message said. Come home soon. The garden misses you. Do-hyun smiled. He typed a quick reply. I will. Save some tomatoes for me. He put the communicator away and closed his eyes. In his mind, he went through his mission briefing one more time. The treaty negotiations would begin tomorrow. Earth wanted mining rights in the outer systems. The Veth wanted those same systems. Other species had their own interests. It would be complicated. It would be difficult. But Do-hyun had handled difficult before. 20 years ago, he had been a different man. A soldier. A killer. One of Earth's ghosts. The ghosts were not officially real. No government admitted they existed, but every intelligence agency in the galaxy knew the stories. Silent operatives who could slip into any place. Assassins who left no trace. Weapons. In human form. Do-hyun had been one of the best. For 15 years, he had served in the shadows. He had done things that still haunted his dreams. He had killed enemies of Earth on a dozen different worlds. He had ended wars before they began. He had protected humanity from threats they never even knew existed. And then he had retired. He had put down his weapons. He had married Yuna. He had planted a garden. He had tried to become a normal man. But some things could never be erased. The skills were still there. The instincts were still sharp. The muscle memory was still perfect. The diplomatic service had recruited him 5 years ago. They said they needed someone who could handle dangerous situations. Someone who could stay calm under pressure. Someone who could protect themselves if things went wrong. Do-hyun had agreed. Not because he wanted to fight again, but because he believed in peace. Real peace. The kind you had to work for. The kind you sometimes had to bleed for. He opened his eyes and looked around the council chamber again. Representatives were still arriving. The noise level was growing. Somewhere above him, Tomal was watching. Do-hyun could feel the hatred in that gaze. He had felt it before, many times, from many enemies. Something was wrong here. He could sense it. There was a tension in the air that went beyond normal political rivalry. Tomal's warnings had not been idle talk. They had been threats. Promises. The Veth were planning something. Do-hyun did not know what. Not yet. But he would find out. He always did. For now, he sat quietly in his small seat at the bottom of the great chamber. A simple human diplomat. Polite, patient, harmless. Let them believe that. Let them all believe that. The hour passed slowly. More representatives arrived. The chamber filled with noise and movement. Translators hummed. Deals were made in whispered conversations. Alliances shifted like sand, and through it all, Do-hyun watched and waited. When the session finally began, he listened carefully to every word. He noted who spoke and who stayed silent. He watched the body language of the different species. He paid attention to the small details that others missed. The Veth delegation was confident, too confident. They smiled at jokes that were not funny. They agreed to proposals that hurt their interests. They were playing a game, but not the game everyone else was playing. Do-hyun understood. They were waiting for something, planning something, something that would happen soon. And whatever it was, it involved him. He took a slow, deep breath. His heart rate stayed perfectly steady. His hands remained still on his lap. His face showed nothing but polite attention. Inside, the ghost was waking up. The first day of negotiations ended without progress. Both sides talked. Both sides made demands. Neither side moved an inch. This was expected. Real negotiations always started slowly. Do-hyun walked back to his quarters alone. The station had given him a small room on the lower levels. It was simple. A bed, a desk, a bathroom. Nothing special, but it was private, and that was enough. He ate a simple dinner from the food dispenser. Rice and vegetables. It tasted nothing like home, but it filled his stomach. He thought about Yuna and their small house outside Seoul. He thought about the garden and the tomatoes and the quiet mornings. He would see them again. He was certain of that. After eating, he reviewed his notes from the session. The Veth were definitely planning something. Their behavior was too strange, too controlled. They were not negotiating in good faith. They were stalling, but why? Do-hyun considered the possibilities. Perhaps they were waiting for reinforcements. Perhaps they were gathering information. Perhaps they were building support among other species. Or perhaps they simply wanted to remove the human problem permanently. He pushed that thought aside for now. He had no proof. Only suspicion. And suspicion was not enough to act on. Sleep came slowly that night. He dreamed of old missions, old faces, old sins. The ghosts of his past visited him often these days. They reminded him of who he had been, what he had done, the blood on his hands that would never wash away. He woke before sunrise. Station time said it was 5 in the morning. He got up, washed his face, and did his morning exercises. Push-ups, sit-ups, stretches, simple movements that kept his body ready. Ready for what? He tried not to think about it. The second day of negotiations was the same as the first. Talk, demands, no progress. The Veth continued their strange behavior. Tomel smiled too much. His assistants watched Do-hyun with hungry eyes. During a break in the session, another representative approached Do-hyun. She was a Krell. The Krell were small creatures with blue skin and large eyes. They were known as traders and information brokers. They had no military power, but they knew everything about everyone. "Human diplomat," she said in a high, soft voice. "May I speak with you?" Do-hyun nodded. "Of course. How can I help you?" The Krell looked around nervously. Then she leaned closer. "Be careful tonight. Do not walk alone. Do not trust the corridors after dark." "Why do you tell me this?" Do-hyun asked. "Because I have heard things. Dangerous things. The Veth do not want these negotiations to succeed. They have other plans." She paused. "Plans that involve you." Before Do-hyun could ask more questions, she hurried away. She disappeared into the crowd of representatives, and he did not see her again. Do-hyun thought about her warning. It confirmed his suspicions. But it did not change his plans. He would continue the negotiations. He would do his duty. If the Veth came for him, he would deal with that when it happened. The session ended at sunset. Station time showed 8 in the evening. Do-hyun gathered his notes and prepared to leave. Most of the other representatives had already gone. He walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the empty chamber. The guards at the door barely looked at him as he passed. To them, he was just another diplomat. Unimportant. Harmless. The corridors were quieter now. Most beings had returned to their quarters for the night. Only a few late workers moved through the halls. Cleaning machines hummed softly. Lights flickered in distant passages. Do-hyun walked his usual route back to his room. Left at the first junction. Straight for 200 meters. Right at the fountain. Down the stairs. Through the maintenance corridor. He was halfway through the maintenance corridor when the lights went out. Darkness fell like a curtain. Complete. Total. Not even emergency lights remained. Do-hyun stopped walking. He stood perfectly still in the blackness. His heart beat slowly. Steadily. His breathing was calm and controlled. This was it then. The trap had been sprung. He heard footsteps. Many footsteps. Coming from both directions. Front and back. He was surrounded. Emergency lights finally flickered on. Red. Dim. Just enough to see shadows. And in those shadows, Veth soldiers appeared. 12 of them. 6 in front. 6 behind. They wore combat armor. and carried pulse rifles. Their yellow eyes glowed in the red light. Their claws clicked against the metal floor. Tomal stepped forward from the group in front. He was smiling. That ugly, cruel smile. "Human diplomat," he said. "What a surprise to meet you here. In this dark, empty corridor. All alone." Do-hyun did not run. He did not scream. He simply looked at Tomal with the same calm expression he always wore. "Representative Tomal," he said quietly. "I assume this is not a social visit." Tomal laughed. "No, it is not. You see, your species has become a problem. You grow too fast. You spread too far. You take resources that belong to stronger races. The Council is too weak to stop you, so we must take matters into our own hands." "By killing a diplomat?" Do-hyun asked. "That will create an incident. Earth will respond." "Earth will never know what happened," Tomal replied. "You will simply disappear. A tragic accident. A malfunction in the station systems. These things happen." He spread his claws wide. "No one will ask questions. No one will care. Humans are not important enough to care about." The soldiers raised their rifles. 12 weapons, pointed at one unarmed man. Do-hyun looked at them all. He counted their positions. He measured the distances. He noted the gaps in their formation. "May I ask one thing?" he said. Tomal tilted his head. "A final request?" "How touching." "Ask. Have you ever wondered why Earth sends diplomats to dangerous places like this?" Tomal frowned. "Because you have no choice. You have no warriors. No soldiers. Only soft, weak creatures who talk instead of fight." Do-hyun nodded slowly. "That is what everyone thinks. That is what we want everyone to think." He reached up and began unbuttoning his suit jacket. "But you made a mistake, Representative. A very serious mistake." "And what is that?" Tomal asked. Do-hyun removed his jacket. He laid it carefully on the floor. Underneath, he wore a simple white shirt. His arms were bare from the elbows down. They were covered in scars. Old scars. Deep scars. Scars from knives and claws and weapons that no longer existed. Scars that told a story of violence and survival. The soldiers stared. Even Tomal's smile faded slightly. "You assumed," Do-hyun said, "that Earth sends diplomats because we have nothing else to send. You assumed we are weak, peaceful, harmless." He rolled his shoulders, stretched his neck, cracked his knuckles. "But the truth is, we send diplomats first because we genuinely want peace. We hope that talking will solve problems. We pray that violence will not be necessary." He took a step forward. Just one step. But something in the air changed. "However," he continued, "we are not stupid. We know that some species only understand strength. We know that some situations cannot be talked through. So we choose our diplomats very carefully." Another step forward. The soldiers shifted nervously. "Every diplomat Earth sends to dangerous postings has a second qualification. A hidden qualification." His voice dropped lower, colder. "We are not just messengers. We are not just negotiators. We are the last line of defense. We are the final warning." Quote. Tomal's eyes narrowed. "What are you saying? Human?" Do-hyun looked directly into those yellow eyes. And for the first time, Tomal saw something there that made him afraid. Something dark, something ancient. Something that had no mercy. "I am saying," Do-hyun whispered, "that you did not ambush a diplomat tonight. You ambushed a ghost." The name meant nothing to Tomal. But one of the soldiers behind him gasped. He was older than the others. He had served in intelligence. "Sir," the soldier said urgently, "we need to leave. Now. The ghosts are—" He never finished the sentence. Do-hyun moved. The human became a blur. One moment he was standing still. The next moment he was among them. The first soldier did not even see him coming. Do-hyun's hand shot out and grabbed the rifle barrel. He twisted it sideways, broke the soldier's grip, and slammed the weapon into its owner's face. The Veth dropped without a sound. 2 seconds. The second and third soldiers were standing close together. Do-hyun spun between them. His elbow caught one in the throat. His heel caught the other behind the knee. Both fell. He grabbed their heads and slammed them together. They stopped moving. 5 seconds. The remaining soldiers finally reacted. They raised their rifles. They tried to aim, but Do-hyun was never where they expected him to be. He moved like water, like shadow, like death itself. The fourth soldier fired his rifle. The pulse blast hit empty air. Do-hyun had already ducked low. He swept the soldier's legs, caught him as he fell, and used his body as a shield against the fifth soldier's shot. The blast hit the falling Veth instead. 8 seconds. Do-hyun threw the unconscious body at the fifth soldier. While the Veth stumbled under the weight, Do-hyun closed the distance. A precise strike to the nerve cluster in the neck. The soldier went limp. 10 seconds. The sixth soldier tried to run. He turned toward the exit, his rifle forgotten. Do-hyun picked up a fallen weapon, reversed it, and threw it like a spear. The heavy metal stock hit the running soldier in the back of the head. He crashed to the floor and did not get up. 12 seconds. Half the soldiers were down. The remaining 6 had finally organized themselves. They formed a tight group, weapons raised, backs to the wall. They were trained soldiers. They knew how to fight. They had faced enemies before, but they had never faced a ghost. Do-hyun walked toward them slowly now. There was no need to rush. He could see the fear in their eyes. He could smell it in the air. They knew they were going to lose. They just did not know how badly. "Stay back," one of them shouted. "Stay back, or we shoot." Do-hyun did not stop. They fired. All 6 of them. Pulse blasts filled the corridor with light and heat. None of them hit. Do-hyun was already moving. He had read their body language. He had seen the tension in their arms. He knew exactly when they would pull their triggers and where their shots would go. He moved through the gaps. He danced between the blasts. Then he was among them. What happened next was not a fight. It was a lesson. The first soldier lost his rifle before he could fire again. Do-hyun caught his arm, twisted it, and threw him into his partner. Both fell in a tangle of limbs. The second pair tried to attack together. Coordinated strikes, smart tactics, useless against a ghost. Do-hyun blocked one claw with his forearm, caught the other soldier's wrist, and used their own momentum against them. They ended up on the floor, dazed and disarmed. The fifth soldier was braver than the others. He threw down his rifle and charged with claws extended. He was fast for a Veth. He had probably won many fights with his natural weapons. Do-hyun caught both claws in his scarred hands. He held them still. The soldier pushed with all his strength, his muscles strained, his scales darkened with effort. Do-hyun did not move an inch. "Strength is not everything," he said quietly. Then he twisted the soldier's arms, forced him to his knees, and struck a pressure point that dropped him into unconsciousness. The last soldier threw down his weapon and raised his hands. "I surrender. I surrender." Do-hyun stopped. He looked at the young Veth, barely an adult by their standards. Scared, shaking, following orders. He did not fully understand. "Go," Do-hyun said. "Tell no one what you saw. Forget this night." The soldier ran. His footsteps echoed through the corridor until they faded into silence. 60 seconds. 11 soldiers defeated. Not one of them dead. Do-hyun turned to face Tomal. The Veth representative had not moved during the entire fight. He stood frozen against the wall. His yellow eyes were wide. His scales had gone pale. His claws shook at his sides. He had watched his elite soldiers fall like children. He had seen a small, soft human move, faster than any being had a right to move. He had witnessed something that his mind refused to accept. Do-hyun walked toward him slowly. Each step echoed in the silent corridor. The red emergency lights cast strange shadows on his face. His eyes were dark, empty. The eyes of a man who had killed more beings than most could count. "Do you understand now?" Do-hyun asked softly. Do you see your mistake? Tomel tried to speak. His voice came out as a croak. What? What are you? I told you. I am a ghost. Do-hyun stopped an arm's length away. Earth's shadow warriors. We exist in no records. We appear in no databases. As far as the galaxy knows, we are just a story. A myth. Something to scare children. He leaned closer. Tomel tried to press himself further into the wall. But we are very real, representative, and there are many of us. In your government. In your military. In places you would never think to look. We have been watching you for years. We know your secrets. Your plans. Your weaknesses. Tomel's voice was barely a whisper. Why? Why tell me this? Because I want you to understand something. Do-hyun's voice was calm, patient, almost gentle. Earth does not want war. We do not want to fight. Every diplomat we send is a genuine offer of peace. A hand extended in friendship. He held up his scarred hand. The marks of 100 old wounds caught the red light. But if you refuse that hand, if you try to hurt us, if you threaten our people or our allies, he let the words hang in the air. Then the diplomats stop being diplomats, and the galaxy learns why humanity has survived so long in a universe full of predators. Tomel was shaking now. Real fear. The kind that went deeper than physical danger. The kind that changed how you saw the world. I could kill you right now, Do-hyun continued. Easily. Quietly. No one would ever know. Your disappearance would be blamed on the same accident you planned for me. He paused. Let Tomel imagine it. But I am not going to kill you. Representative. Tomel blinked, confusion mixed with relief on his reptilian face. You are not? No. Do-hyun stepped back. He adjusted his shirt collar. He ran a hand through his hair. In moments, he looked like a simple diplomat again. Calm, professional, harmless. I am going to let you live. Do you know why? Tomel shook his head. Because dead men cannot deliver messages. Do-hyun met his eyes. You are going to go back to your masters. You are going to tell them exactly what happened here tonight. And you are going to make sure they understand the truth about humanity. The truth? Tomel managed. Yes, the truth. Do-hyun bent down and picked up his suit jacket. He put it back on, covering his scarred arms. Humans are not weak. We are not prey. We are not children to be pushed aside. He buttoned his jacket slowly. We are beings who have chosen peace. Chosen it, representative. Not because we cannot fight. Not because we fear conflict. But because we have seen what war does. We have studied violence. We have mastered it. And we have decided that there must be a better way. He adjusted his diplomatic badge. Every diplomat Earth sends could kill everyone in the room if they wanted to. Every peace offer we make is a choice to put down our weapons. Every treaty we sign is a promise to keep our monsters locked away. He finished dressing and looked at Tomel one final time. But if your people force us to release those monsters, if you leave us no choice but violence. He smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Then you will discover that humanity's greatest gift is not our technology. Not our creativity. Not our ability to adapt. He turned and began walking away. It is our capacity for absolute, complete, and merciless destruction. And once we start, we do not stop until the threat is eliminated. His footsteps faded into the darkness of the corridor. Tomel stood alone among his fallen soldiers. His legs finally gave out. He slid down the wall and sat on the cold metal floor. For a long time, he did not move. He simply stared at nothing and tried to process what he had witnessed. The human had been right. He had made a terrible mistake. And now he had to go back and explain that mistake to the Veth High Command. They were not going to be happy. The next morning arrived like any other morning on Varus 7. The station's artificial sun rose slowly behind the observation windows. Beings of 100 species woke up, ate breakfast, and prepared for another day of politics and negotiations. None of them knew what had happened in the maintenance corridor. Do-hyun sat in his small room and drank tea. Real tea, from Earth. He had brought a small container with him, a gift from Yuna before he left. She knew how much he loved tea in the mornings. He thought about the previous night. 11 soldiers, 60 seconds, no deaths. He had been careful about that. Killing would have created problems, questions, investigations. It was better this way, cleaner. The soldiers would wake up with headaches and bruises. They would remember what happened. They would tell their friends. The story would spread. Rumors would grow. That was fine. That was part of the plan. Fear was a tool, like any other. Used properly, it prevented violence instead of causing it. His communicator buzzed. A message from the council secretary. The morning session would begin in 1 hour. All representatives were expected to attend. Do-hyun finished his tea, dressed in a fresh suit, and walked to the council chamber. He took his usual route. Past the fountain. Up the stairs. Through the main corridor. The maintenance corridor was blocked off. Technical difficulties, a sign said. Workers were removing damaged equipment and fixing the lights. No one looked at Do-hyun as he passed. The council chamber was already half full when he arrived. Representatives sat in their sections, talking quietly, making deals, playing their games. Everything looked normal. But something was different. Do-hyun felt the stares, not the usual dismissive glances. These were careful looks. Studying looks. Fearful looks. Word had spread. Maybe not the whole truth, but enough of it. He took his seat at the bottom of the chamber. Alone. Patient. Calm. Tomal arrived late. The Veth representative looked terrible. His scales were dull. His eyes were tired. He had not slept. He walked to his delegation's section. With his head down, their eyes met briefly. Tomal looked away immediately. He could not hold Do-hyun's gaze. Good. The session began. The council leader, a tall being from a species Do-hyun did not recognize, called for order. Representatives made their speeches. Proposals were discussed. Votes were taken. The Veth delegation was quiet. They did not argue. They did not threaten. They simply sat and watched. When it came time to discuss the mining rights treaty, something unexpected happened. Tomal stood up and spoke. The Veth Dominion wishes to make an announcement, he said. His voice was rough, tired. After careful consideration, we have decided to withdraw our opposition to the human mining proposal. We will support the treaty as written. Silence fell over the chamber. This was impossible. The Veth had fought against this treaty for months. They had argued. They had threatened. They had done everything possible to stop humanity from gaining access to the outer systems, and now they simply surrendered? Representatives whispered to each other. What had changed? What had happened? Only Do-hyun knew, and he said nothing. The council leader recovered from his surprise. Very well. If there are no other objections, the treaty will be approved. Human representative, do you have anything to add? Do-hyun stood. He looked around the chamber. Hundreds of eyes watched him. Hundreds of beings from hundreds of worlds. I do, he said. His voice was soft, but it carried through the entire chamber. If I may, I would like to make a brief statement. Not about the treaty. About humanity. The council leader nodded. You may proceed. Do-hyun took a breath. He had thought about this moment for a long time. What to say. How to say it. The right words could prevent future conflicts. The wrong words could start them. Many of you do not know much about my species, he began. You have heard stories, rumors. Perhaps you have read reports. But most of what you know is incomplete, or wrong. He paused. Let them wonder. Humanity is young. We know this. We have only been part of the galactic community for 30 years. In that time, we have tried to be good neighbors. We have traded fairly. We have honored our agreements. We have sought peace with every species we have met. He looked at the Veth delegation. Tomal would not meet his eyes. Some of you have seen this as weakness. You have thought that humans are soft, naive, easy to manipulate, easy to threaten. easy to attack. His voice grew harder. You are wrong. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the translators had stopped humming. Humanity did not survive by being weak. Our world was not kind to us. For thousands of years, we fought each other. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We came close to ending ourselves many times. But we survived. We learned. We grew. He held up his hand. The scarred hand. Representatives in the front rows could see the marks. Every human you meet has the capacity for violence inside them. It is part of our nature, part of our history, part of our biology. We cannot remove it. We cannot pretend it does not exist. He lowered his hand. But we can choose not to use it, and that is what we do. Every single day, we wake up and we choose peace. We choose cooperation. We choose to build instead of destroy. His voice softened slightly. The diplomats Earth sends to this council are not random citizens. We are carefully selected, trained, tested. Each of us has the skills to handle any situation, any threat, any attack. We do not need guards. We do not need protection. We are our own protection. He looked around the chamber slowly, making eye contact with as many representatives as he could. But we do not want to use those skills. We do not want to fight. We are here because we believe in the possibility of peace. Real peace. Lasting peace. Peace built on respect and understanding, not fear and threats. He turned back to the council leader. That is my message. Humanity offers friendship to any species willing to accept it. We will trade with you, work with you, help you when you need help. We will be loyal allies and honest partners. His voice dropped. But do not mistake our kindness for weakness. Do not confuse our patience for stupidity. And never, ever think that attacking us will be easy or without consequences. He sat down. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, whispers began. Discussions started. The political calculations shifted. The council leader cleared his throat. Thank you, human representative. Your words have been noted. The session will continue. The rest of the day passed quickly. The mining treaty was approved. Other business was discussed. But through it all, Do-hyun could feel the change in the air. Species that had ignored humanity before now approached him during breaks. They asked questions. They offered partnerships. They wanted to know more about his people. The Veth were not the only ones who had learned something that day. After the session ended, Do-hyun returned to his quarters. He was tired. Not physically, but emotionally. Speaking in front of so many beings was exhausting for him. He preferred shadows to spotlights. He sat on his bed and called Yuna. Her face appeared on the screen. Beautiful, kind, home. You look tired, she said. Long day, he replied. Did you have to fight? He paused. Yuna knew about his past. She was one of the few people who knew everything. She had accepted it. Loved him anyway. A little, he admitted. She nodded. No judgment, no fear, just understanding. Are you hurt? No, I am fine. Did you hurt them badly? No. They will recover. She smiled. That small, warm smile that had first captured his heart years ago. Good. I am glad you did not have to kill anyone. So am I. They talked for a while. About small things. The garden. The neighbors. A cat that had been visiting their yard. Normal things. Human things. When they said goodbye, Do-hyun felt better. Lighter. More human. He lay down on his bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow, the negotiations would continue. There were still many deals to make, many problems to solve, many dangers to navigate, but tonight, he would rest. And tomorrow, he would be a diplomat again. Calm, patient, professional. The ghost would sleep, for now. Outside his window, the artificial stars of Varus 7 glowed softly. Ships came and went. The business of the galaxy continued. And somewhere in the station, Tomal was sending a message to his superiors. A message that would change how the Veth saw humanity forever. A message about a simple diplomat who was not simple at all. A message about death in disguise. 3 months passed. The negotiations ended with success. Humanity gained access to the outer mining systems. Trade agreements were signed. New partnerships were formed. Earth's position in the galaxy grew stronger day by day. Do-hyun's speech had been recorded and shared across thousands of worlds. It became famous, translated into hundreds of languages, studied in diplomatic academies, quoted by politicians and philosophers alike. The galaxy had finally started to understand humanity, but the real changes happened in quieter ways. In meetings behind closed doors, in whispered conversations, in the careful recalculation of every species' strategy toward Earth. The Veth Dominion withdrew from several contested systems without explanation. Their military patrols stopped approaching human borders. Their propaganda networks went silent about Earth. Other species noticed. They asked questions. The Veth did not answer. But the message was clear. Do not challenge humanity. They are more dangerous than they appear. Similar changes happened elsewhere. Species that had planned hostile actions quietly abandoned them. Pirates and raiders learned to avoid human ships. Criminal organizations stopped targeting human colonies. No one wanted to wake the ghosts. Do-hyun watched these changes from afar. He had returned to Earth after the treaty was signed. His mission was complete. His service was done. He was just a retired diplomat now. A gardener. A husband. At least, that was what his official record said. He stood in his garden one morning, watering his tomato plants. The sun was warm on his face. Birds sang in the nearby trees. His small house in the Korean countryside looked peaceful and ordinary. Yuna came out with 2 cups of tea. She handed one to him and stood by his side. They watched the morning together in comfortable silence. "The tomatoes are growing well," she said. "They are. We should have a good harvest this year." She smiled. "You always say that, and I am always right." They laughed softly, a gentle sound, a happy sound. The sound of 2 people who loved each other deeply. "Are you really going to stay retired this time?" Yuna asked. Do-hyun considered the question. He had said he was done before. More than once. But the calls always came. The missions always appeared. The galaxy always needed ghosts. "I think so," he said finally. "The young ones are good. Better than I was at their age. They do not need old men like me anymore." "You are not old. Older than I was." She reached over and took his scarred hand. Her fingers traced the old wounds gently, lovingly. "These hands have done terrible things. Yes, but they have also done good things. Saved lives. Protected people. Made peace possible." He said nothing. Some truths did not need words. "I am proud of you," Yuna said. "I have always been proud of you. Not because of what you can do, but because of what you choose to do." Do-hyun looked at her. His wife. His anchor. The reason he had survived all those years in the shadows. "Thank you," he said simply. They finished their tea and went inside for breakfast. Rice. Soup. Side dishes. Simple food. Human food. Do-hyun ate slowly, enjoying every bite. After months of station food, everything tasted wonderful. His communicator buzzed. A message from Earth's diplomatic service. He almost ignored it. But old habits were hard to break. He looked at the screen. "Congratulations on your successful mission," the message read. "Your actions have improved humanity's standing across the galaxy. Several species have requested direct negotiations. Others have increased their cooperation. The Council has passed 12 new measures in our favor since your speech." There was more. "Your identity has been protected. No official records connect you to the events on Varus 7. The Veth have remained silent about what happened. The soldiers have not spoken. Representative Tomal has resigned from his position, citing health reasons." Do-hyun smiled at that. Health reasons. That was one way to describe it. However, Rumors continue to spread. The story of the diplomat, who defeated 12 Veth soldiers, has become legend. It grows with each telling. Some versions claim you killed 50 soldiers, others say you destroyed an entire ship. A few suggest you are not human at all. He shook his head. Legends always grew beyond the truth. These rumors serve our purpose. They make other species think twice before challenging us. They protect our people and our interests. They buy us time to grow stronger. The message ended with a final note. Rest well, Kang Do-hyun. You have earned it. But know that your service will never be forgotten. When you are ready, if you are ever ready, there will always be a place for you. Thank you for being exactly what humanity needed. Do-hyun deleted the message. He put the communicator away and returned to his breakfast. Yuna was watching him. Work? Just a thank you note. She nodded. She did not ask for details. She knew he would share what he could, when he could. After breakfast, they worked in the garden together. Weeding, planting, pruning. Simple tasks that required no special skills, no hidden talents, no deadly training. Do-hyun found peace in these moments. In the dirt under his fingernails, in the sun on his back, in the quiet company of his wife. He was not the ghost here. He was not a weapon, or a legend, or a warning. He was just Do-hyun. A man. A husband. A gardener. That was enough. That had always been enough. Later that evening, they sat on their porch and watched the sunset. The sky turned orange and pink and purple. Stars began to appear one by one. Do you ever think about them? Yuna asked. The aliens up there? Do-hyun nodded. Sometimes. Do you think they will leave us alone now? He considered the question. The galaxy was a big place, full of dangers and threats that humanity had not yet faced, full of species that were stronger, older, and more advanced. Some of them will, he said. The smart ones, the ones who understand. And the others? He looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, ships were flying, soldiers were training, governments were plotting. The galaxy never stopped moving. The others will learn, he said quietly. Sooner or later. One way or another. They will all learn. Yuna leaned against his shoulder. I hope it is later. I hope we have many more years of peace. So do I. They sat together until the stars filled the sky. Then they went inside, closed the door, and left the universe to its business. Kang Do-hyun slept well that night. No dreams of violence, no ghosts from the past. Just peaceful darkness and the warmth of his wife beside him. He was home, and somewhere across the galaxy, in meeting rooms and military bases and political offices, beings of 100 species discussed the new reality. Humanity was not to be touched, not to be threatened, not to be underestimated. The humans sent diplomats first. Always diplomats. Polite people with kind words and open hands. But behind every diplomat stood a ghost. Behind every smile was a warning. Behind every offer of peace was the promise of war. And the galaxy was finally beginning to understand what that meant. This was the new order. This was humanity's gift to the universe. Choose peace. Accept friendship. Build something better together. Or face the consequences. The choice was always theirs. But the outcome was always certain. Humanity would survive. Humanity would grow. Humanity would spread across the stars. Not through conquest. Not through destruction. Not through fear. But through the simple truth that strength and kindness were not opposites. That mercy was a choice only the powerful could make. That the most dangerous beings in the universe were the ones who wanted peace badly enough to fight for it. That was the truth Do-hyun had shown them. That was the message he had delivered. That was the legend that would spread across the galaxy for generations to come. The diplomat who was death in disguise. The human who chose not to kill. The ghost who wanted nothing more than to tend his garden. And somewhere in the Korean countryside, that ghost woke with the sunrise, kissed his wife good morning, and went out to water his tomatoes. Life was good. Peace was possible. And that was enough.